and it did not go well. The audio sounded terrible because it was going through my car speakers, I guess. And I also didn't set it to public somehow. So whatever. But I thought I would do a quick one while I'm out and about again today. I'm getting ready to go home, but I'm swinging by the grocery store to grab some stuff. Here, I'll take these off for a bit. But I was talking yesterday in my video about how this week right now, this is the 10-year anniversary of my mental health crisis that landed me in the psych hospital in 2015. And I'm just reflecting back on the contrasting differences between who I was then versus who I am now. I've spent the last 10 years of my life advocating for my wellness, and I'm a different person today in so many ways. I can't even quite express it in words, how different I am today versus how I was when I was in the psych hospital and when I got out of the psych hospital. And it really took me a couple of years to get things in hand after that. My diagnosis was bipolar type 1, and they had me, my experience at the psych hospital was incredibly traumatic. They had me on 5 different medications. I talked about in that crummy quality video yesterday about how one of them made my tongue swell so bad I couldn't even talk. My parents came to visit me, and I remember seeing them, and I remember like thinking of things that I wanted to say, but I wasn't physically able to say them because my tongue was so swollen. This is something I didn't mention yesterday in my video. When I got out of the psych hospital, I went in on a 72-hour hold. I went to my local emergency room on April 1st, April Fool's Day, so I don't really find that day of the year very funny anymore. And then early morning of April 2nd is when I arrived at the psych hospital on a 72-hour hold. And I didn't get out for 6 days. It might have been 7. I was there longer. It was awful. It was so awful. It was either the first night or the second night. I think it was the second night. My roommate peed all around my bed. Oh, it was awful. Then of course, my tongue swelled. I couldn't talk. I actually wrote a suicide note, like a mock suicide note. I don't know that I can say that on here, but too late. To see if I could get somebody's attention, because nobody was listening to me. Like, that's how psycho this was. This whole thing was just incredibly like a mental maze that I found myself in. I was just trapped in it. I had been awake for 4 days before I went in. But the thing that I didn't mention in my video yesterday about this was after I got out, I was on about 5 or 6 medications that they wanted me to stay on. And I tried for, I don't know, a few days. I tried, and I had to crawl. I remember crawling. I couldn't walk. I had to crawl to my fridge to get a snack. And then it was a couple of weeks after I was having some major like gastrointestinal issues, and I ended up having a I don't know what it's called. Where they put a tube down and they look. And I was all inflamed from all of the medication. I was all inflamed and red, and everything was just like fired up because I was on all of this stupid medication. So at that point, I was like, that's it. I am not taking this medication anymore. And so I quit it. I stopped the medication altogether. And I spent the summer of 2015 reading about bipolar type 1 because I denied it at first. I was like, no way, they're wrong. I don't have this. They're stupid. That whole thing was stupid. They're wrong. Then I started researching it. And as much as I would have liked to have, pretended that it didn't exist and that it was the wrong diagnosis, they got it right. There's no way to hide mania. Not in the state that I was in. I was awake for 4 days. I was talking nonstop. I couldn't talk as fast as my mind was thinking. It was a nightmare. It was just an absolute nightmare. And so they got my diagnosis right. And then the following October was when I went to my primary care physician, and I said, fine, I will admit that I have a problem. I sounded like an alcoholic. I admit it. I have bipolar type 1, but here's the deal. I will take something for it, but we're going to start low, and then if we have to, we're going to go lower. And so I started on a low dose medication, and I was sleeping every day. I was sleeping all day, every day. I could not wake up on it. And so I went to my doctor 2 weeks in, and I said, I can't keep doing this. And he said, well, since it makes you so tired, just take it at night. And I've been doing that for 9.5 years. And the fog started to lift, and I started to see things clearly and rationally. And I just changed. It was like a good pair of glasses. I just changed. And I reflect back on that time, that ridiculous time that just, there was, in fact, I was talking to my mom about it today, because of the way that I was treated at the psych hospital and the way that the security guards were to me. I have had like a red flag about security guards and police officers like ever since. Like if they're in my vicinity, I'm a little bit on edge. Like I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, it's a security guard or it's a policeman or what, like what's going on here? Cause I was locked in this facility with security guards who wouldn't respond to me hardly. And I just it just put a bad taste in my mouth. And I was telling my mom today, my crochet club that meets every week, they meet at the local police station. And sometimes when I'm around like security guards or whatever, I still feel it, but it's so far in my past. Like I've come such a long way. I've worked so hard to get to this side of it. I've advocated for myself. I try to express on here how important advocation is for the mental wellness journey. I live with bipolar. This time of year, I struggle with hypomania, although I think I've really only had it once. That was a few weeks ago. Right after the time change, I had some hypomania, but I'm doing really well. I have a sleep app on that I use in correlation with my watch, and so I monitor my sleep. And now that I'm working out, my heart rhythm has improved with my sleep. Things are I try to seek wellness in all ways, mind, body, and soul. But the mind part of it was tricky. I was telling my mom today, my left hip has been bothering me. I don't know what's going on with it. I have bad joints. It's no surprise. But my left hip has been bothering me, and I'm probably going to have to see somebody about it, talk to somebody about it. I just don't want to, it's like, I just don't want to, I'm just kind of in denial. I don't want to deal with it right now. But, when it comes to mental injury or mental issues, it's not like a hip where you know where it hurts and you know what's wrong. Because with mental illness, even if you're mentally well, your mind, we tend to believe, and I mentioned this yesterday in my crummy video, we tend to believe what our mind tells us. But I think if we start to realize that our mind can just as easily lie to us, we start to learn how serious mental issues can be. Whether it's just a struggle with stress or a struggle with a serious mental illness. And I have so much compassion for anyone who has subscribed to my channel or watched my channel, who has sent me an email or reached out and just said to me, sorry, there's a cart, the wind's blowing, this cart is just running wild. I think somebody's probably going to catch it. I have so much compassion for those who understand this situation in this life, and I have compassion for those who have yet to have clarity and a diagnosis to put them on a path. Before I was diagnosed, I was smoking a lot of pot. It was like I was looking for a different mentality. I needed a different mentality. And while I got a different mentality, I learned after my diagnosis what the right mentality, what a well mentality, what a healthy mentality actually looks like and feels like to live with. I'm so grateful to have had these last 10 years of wellness. I'm so grateful that it happened during a time in my life where really, if something happened to me today or tomorrow, I experienced mental wellness. And that's just a beautiful thing. And it came on the heels of something really awful and traumatic and frustrating. But I'm thankful even for that, because without that experience, I wouldn't have known this. I wouldn't have known peace. I wouldn't have known relief. And this is how I'm celebrating. I'm just kind of celebrating every day. When I was in the psych hospital 10 years ago, I spent Easter in the psych hospital, and that was really hard for me. I mentioned in my video yesterday that if you look back on my videos from when, like a year ago, when I was really first starting to get more active on here, I do a 4-part series on my my experience. I wrote a kind of short story of my experience in the psych hospital and how being in there during Easter was really hard on me. It really hurt me. And I celebrate Easter differently. Like I said, I don't really like April Fools. I don't find it very funny. But I celebrate Easter differently. It's always been a part of my faith, but now it's a part of my mental wellness. And that's really awesome. I love that, and I want to share that. And anyway, so I'm celebrating 10 years. I can't believe it's already been almost 12 minutes. These things go so fast, but I hope this one turns out better than the one that I did yesterday, because it was really stupid, like the audio and everything. So I'm going to replay this one back. Look at my sweater I made. It's called a cocoon cardigan. It's got like these short sleeves, but it's got a really long back, so it like kind of covers my bumper. So I made myself a sweater this week. So this is a 10-year, I can look at it as a 10-year gift for myself, that I made myself a sweater. But yeah, I was one way. Like, I don't know if any of you have watched The Chosen, but there's a saying in there in the very first episode where a character, one of the female characters, says, I was one way and then I was another, and the thing that happened in between was him. And I credit all of my desire for advocating for myself and for taking care of myself, I credit God for that. God helps those who help themselves. And I think God was with me even when I felt completely alone in a weird situation that I might as well have been drunk. Like, the psychosis of it, I was so messed up in my head. And I don't know what it's like to be an alcoholic and then like lead a sober life, but this is as close to what I can imagine that being, because it's like I sobered up after it. It, as sucky as it was, it saved my life. I know it saved my life. I have an amazing husband of 15 years, and we were 5 years in when this happened. He could have easily just walked away, and he stood by me, and he still stands by me. And I think that he sees that, I worked really hard. And I think he has some respect for that too. I worked really hard to get here, and I thank him for sticking by me through it. But I'm here, and those 10 years are a memory, but I'll never forget what started me on this path. And it was one of the worst weeks of my whole entire life. It started me on this path. And as much as I hated it, and I can sit here and complain about the treatment of it, it saved my life. So I am thankful for that. I want to do some more videos from home at some point, but right now it's just been easier to do a couple while I've been out and about. So I thought I would just get on here real quick, apparently 15 minutes, tell you guys what kind of week I'm having versus what kind of week I had 10 years ago. So I'm getting ready to go grocery shopping. I'm going to work out later, hopefully spend some time with my husband. It's Friday. He was home, not because he was sick, but he had some training that he had to do online today. So he's been home working. So I'm going to go see him and Maybe we'll have a nice dinner. I'll have a cheat day this weekend. I have hit my goal, my first goal of my weight loss. Because I couldn't work out after surgery, so I waited until I was better. So I'm at my driver's license weight. I hit my driver's license weight today. So I think I can have one cheat day this weekend. So I'm gonna keep looking forward, but I'll never forget what happened 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, being awake for 4 days, having mania, having euphoria, having psychosis, it led me to a life that 10 years later I'm very proud of, and I fought for it. And I wear that scar very proudly. So here's to me. I'm celebrating this week. Every day that I can, I'm celebrating. Because 10 years ago, I was broken. I don't want to cry, but I was broken. And I'm not broken anymore. All right. Keep looking up, everybody. And remember, self-care is not selfish. I think I remember how to do this. Bye for now.